going on, everyone? Nerf Herder here again. Yes, back at you. I want to talk about real quick something that has been asked in a lot of my comment sections and, well, personal messages really as well. I'm going to go ahead and discuss sound fonts for people. On this channel, I have definitely showed a lot of sound fonts. I've showcased plenty from different sound font makers, friends of mine, you know, whether it's Kyberphonic, K-Sith, CFX, Repulse, Lord Blocko. You go down the list, there's a lot of sound font makers, all really, really talented at what they do. And I want to talk a little bit about sound fonts in general, what you get when you purchase a sound font, and how to load it up on your specific soundboard, whether it be Profi, CFX, Verso, Golden Harvest, what have you. The things that go into that are, for the most part, you know, may seem like a lot at the time, but it's once you get familiarized with what's in the font, what the wave files do, and all that stuff, it opens a whole nother world of customization that I really enjoy. To me, the sound font is the heart of the lightsaber. It brings everything to life. It's just, there's so much you can do to amplify the experience with sounds. So first thing I want to talk about right out the gate is big no-no. Number one, do not do this. We've seen it recently with somebody who is very controversial in the hobby for stealing stuff and saying it's his own and selling it and whatnot. Do not, and I'm saying this 100%, do not. It is not cool. Don't do it. Why would you? And this is if you're going to distribute these. It is very frowned upon, super not cool to buy these sound fonts that are from these font makers for, you know, $10, $12, however much the sound font is. And then you're like, okay, well, I own this sound font now. It's mine. I'm going to go ahead and start selling lightsabers with these sound fonts on them. No, it's wrong. It's very wrong. It's immoral and it's wrong. Just be good people. Why you gotta be shady? Why do people gotta be shady with this crap? We're supposed to have fun with lightsabers, not. A lot of people will be like, hey, I don't understand the big deal, because, you know, this is a double-sided sword kind of topic where people are like, well, I bought it, it's mine. I don't understand why they get to make sounds from Lucasfilm and aren't they stealing and selling, blah blah. It's a whole crazy topic that has been discussed many times in the hobby, and it usually aggravates a lot of the veteran hobbyists. We've heard this come up every 6 months. I think it should come up every 6 months because it seems like a lot of people don't get it. Shouldn't be font sharing. Whenever I get a commission, a lot of people who just don't know will get a commission and say, hey, I saw you have like 100 sound fonts. I'll just throw all those on my lightsaber. Thank you. No, sir. I'm not going to pirate from friends of mine hundreds of dollars worth of sound fonts just to throw it on your lightsaber. You buy the sound font and then it's yours. You can use it on all your sabers in your collection. Where it becomes wrong is where, like I said, you buy for $10 and then you're like, yeah, I got it. It's mine now. I paid for it. Well, like, that'd be the exact same if you, took a DVD, copied it onto blank discs, and sold them. It was like, yeah, I distribute these movies. I guarantee you the studios and a lot of people are going to come after you. I mean, you will get fined for it. It's not yours to distribute. You buy and use, but you do not buy and profit off of. So that's what's wrong. Anyways, trust me, I had a lot of drama on that topic. But anyways, you purchase the font and it is your font. But these guys who are sound font makers, they don't just copy paste from, you know, the movie and say, here we go, it's done. No, these guys are engineers, they're artists, they're sound font artists. It's an art form. So respect the artist. They do stuff that I can't do. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, how hard can it be? I mean, it's just sounds. It's just sounds. And then I'm like, okay, well, why don't you make a sound font and I would love to try it out. And then they go, oh, so-and-so wouldn't tell me how to do this. I don't know how to do it. I don't have the programming software. I don't have a computer to do it. I don't have the gear. I don't know how to do it. Yeah, dude, because you're not a specialist. You don't know what you're doing. You have to understand. That's the thing. A lot of people will always tell you, how hard can it be to, you know, do that? I bet I can do it, no problem. And then when it gets down to them doing it, they're like, that's a little too much for me to deal with. I don't want to do it. Yeah, dude, it takes a lot of work. So that's my little soapbox thing right there real quick. I have respect for these sound font makers. They do something that I don't know how to do. I've tiptoed into and been like, it's a lot. Sound design is a whole crazy thing that I respect. Ben Burt, he designed all those sounds by recording, wires, wrenches hitting wires and sounds going crazy and breathing apparatus, all the sounds. It's so cool. So these guys, they do that. They build these fonts from the ground up, you know, whether they use synthesizers or actual recorded sounds or what have you. So support your font makers. Support your font makers. That's the number one thing I can say. Like, I've said it a bunch in these sound fonts. Without them, we are literally using stock sound fonts. So the more they pump out, the better. The more fun we have, the more money they make, the more they feel inclined to make sound fonts, the more we have to play with. So I don't know why you wouldn't support that. So let's talk real quick, since we got that out of the way. That's one of my things that I really wanted to talk about, because I feel like it is very important. A lot of people don't really know the do's and do nots of sound fonts. So I'm going to show you guys real quick what comes on a sound font, basic sound font when you get it. If you've watched a lot of these sound font reviews that I've done, it's me swinging it around going, this is that. And you know, I apologize, I tend to forget that there are a lot of new people to the hobby. This will be kind of a little bit more in-depth conversation on sound fonts for people who are new to collecting lightsabers. You can get sound fonts from saberfont.com. A lot of sound font makers have branched out and started their own websites and kind of become more independent in that sense, which is really cool. I will show those. I'll show you options on where to get those, how to purchase them, download them, whatnot. I have a video on this channel, CFX config and adding fonts. I went over everything on how I went over everything in that video. Went over everything in that video to show you how to add a font onto your SD card, what your config looks like, how to change settings, how to change colors, how to add blade styles. I've shown that, and nobody seems to want to go to that video. With CFX, you can purchase the sound font, slap it on your SD card, you're done. Make sure that you have in your file every time that you have a font config.txt, it's font_config.txt. Make sure you have that. That tells the font what to do, the specific font. You have a main config file that tells the Saber what to do, and then inside each font folder, you have another separate config that has a little bit more font specific configuration details. And then also you want to make sure that you have an led.txt. Without those two files, this is on CFX, without those two files, you'll get this nasty audible beep whenever you select the font. It's disgusting. With Profi, it's going to be a little bit different. Somebody asked me about you know, just telling them how to do Profi. I am not the biggest Profi guy. It's just never really been my style, and learning Profi is something that, like, it's just like doing a lot of homework that I really don't want to do. I mean, I got a lot of stuff as is, always got projects, and I've always got a lot of things, so learning Profi would really be beneficial for me just to know. Other than that, I don't really have any interest in really starting to get it. I'm just not a Profi person. It's a lot more than I need for my Saber. Personal preference. Always comes down to personal preference, in my opinion. Yes, the Profi is an amazing board, but it's not something that I really want to throw in every lightsaber. I like the way the CFX works all around. That's just my thing. So don't hate me in the comment section. I'll show you real quick the sounds that I have that are on a CFX. So you're gonna have your font that you choose.
Sound bank selection.
The Knight and the Dragon.
The Knight and the Dragon by Lord Blocko. I love this one. So you select your font in the font menu. This is one that's already loaded. I'm just going to show you the basic functions of this lightsaber sound font. So you're going to have your power on, which press the power button. That's one audio wave. It's your power, and it goes right into a hum, which is another audio wave. Swings, accent swings, smooth swings. You got blasters whenever you press the auxiliary button. Here are all those different audio files. Those are all different. You can hold up to like 4 different ones for blasters. You lock up, press and hold the auxiliary. Let go. See how those are different? There are end locks and begin locks and lots of cool little audio files that are featured on there to enhance the audio track. Clashes. And then you got Force Wave, which you press the auxiliary and swing, and it'll play a sound. Usually it could be a quote, it could be, you know, music. It could be whatever audio file you really want it to be. Usually I do quotes or just sometimes they're just forced pushes and stuff like that, which like that one is. Little Easter egg noises. And then also with lockup, you're pressing your auxiliary, right? Lockup. Also with CFX, if you have the Saber pointed in kind of a down position, you do a clash and auxiliary at the same time, you'll get a tip drag sound effect. See the difference? Here's a lockup. But if you clash and auxiliary, clash and lockup basically, and it's a different sound. And then you got power down. And one of the things I like about the CFX is different orientations of how you hold the lightsaber, depending on how you're holding it, will play a specific audio file, wave file. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 power-ons. 1 is going to be, when you hold it up. 2 is going to be when you hold it this way. 3 is that way. 4 is straight down. So they all have a little bit of different variations. Some of them might not have it, and some of them do. It's just really cool feature. All slightly different. And you also have Prions and Post-Ops. So with a Prion and a Post-Op, I really enjoy Prions. I think they're cool. It's an audio file. It's very short usually. With Kyberphonic fonts, he usually incorporates it into the ignition, so it enhances your ignition sound. It's just really cool. If you don't like it, you just take it off. I know a lot of people are like, "What is it? I press the button and there's a delay, and then it'll ignite after some weird little noise." And I'm like, "That's a Prion. It's it's a amplified ignition noise." So usually clicks or something. Sometimes it's quotes. It could be a bunch of different things. With CFX, it's Prions and Post-Ops are a lot of fun for me. I enjoy them. Like you heard that little beep. And then a good example of Prions and Post-Ops. That I added. That is a post-off. So the Saber retracted, and then at the very end I had a little click noise that I added. I added that myself. Which I just think is really fun. It's fun to play with those when you have them.
Sound bank selection.
Those are some post-offs that I think are fun. You don't have to use them if you don't want to. It's up to you. I think it's just fun to, depending on the Saber, depending on the hilt or whatever you want to do, I think it's fun to add. With CFX and a lot of other soundboards that I was saying, when you get your font, you download your font. So you purchase it, and then you're going to download it, and then you will make a folder on your desktop and throw it in there. And then when you take your SD card out of your lightsaber, always put your remove your battery first, or insert a kill key. You want to kill power to the board when you're removing the SD card. So you kill power to the board, either removing the battery or inserting a kill key or using a kill switch, whatever you have. Then you can take out the SD card. When you take out the SD card, you put it on your computer, it's going to pull up, and then you're going to add that folder. You're going to have to make a new folder or replace one, however you want to do it. Drop your folder in there, make sure you got your font config and your LED text, and you're good to go. It takes no time at all. When you have Profi, you're going to have to do the same process. They're labeled a little bit different, but if you get the folders that are optimized for Profi sound fonts, all the work will be done for you. But you will have to put it on your SD card, and then you will have to make sure that in your configuration file, your main config that you flash the board with, it will coincide with that sound font. So with Profi, you're going to have two different things going on. So you're going to have the sound font on the SD card, and then you're going to have to make sure that your config that you make, you do the whole config where you put all your code, all your blade styles, make sure everything's labeled correctly, so that when you flash the board and you have your config on the soundboard, then when you go to those specific presets, it'll read the sound font that's on the SD card. So that's how that works. So you've got Megtooth Sith, his YouTube channel. If you guys haven't watched Megtooth Sith, I've been watching Tom for years. Tom is just full of info, awesome guy, really good channel for Profi, Teensy, all those soundboards. Tom does good work. So he's got a lot of information on Profi boards and tutorials like adding fonts and stuff like that, and as well as Powell's Power-Ups. Powell's Power-Ups is also a very good channel for information as far as tutorials and other stuff along those lines of Profi. So sorry guys, I'm just not the most well versed in Profi. Like I've said a bunch, it's not a board that I ever really gravitated towards. I don't knock it at all. I have Profi Saber, and it's fun. I stick to what I like. This always comes down to personal preference. There's so many soundboard battles that everyone does. I'm just the type of guy who's like, I like what I like. I like, specific stuff. I just like simplicity and whatnot. Let's not say CFX is really hard, but it is there's a bigger learning curve when it comes to programming, coding, and all that stuff. So it's just something I haven't tiptoed in as much as the rest of the Saber community. I'm going to show you real quick on how to load a font. Also, whenever you're watching sound font reviews, check the description link, or the info section of the video. That's where the link will be to purchase the sound font. A lot of people ask me, where can I purchase a sound font? If you go into the info on this video, or not this video, but the sound font video, you look at the information, look at what is all in there. It should have a link to that sound font maker's page where you can purchase the sound font for yourself. So all that said, sorry this is all winded and long, but I'm going to go ahead and show you real quick again, once again, how to add sound fonts onto your SD card. This is for CFX. For Golden Harvest and Verso and Profi, they all vary a little bit, but if you purchase the font for those, it's pretty much the same guideline. Now with Golden Harvest, which is really cool, is you can take your CFX font and take all the files, copy, paste, drag, put them in your Golden Harvest folder, and then you can just delete the font config file text, because that's specific to CFX, and replace it with a settings text that's in the other folders of the fonts in the Golden Harvest. So you would really just copy paste that, and then you're good to go. Golden Harvest is extremely easy to do. All right, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to show you real quick how to throw it on, and then I'll run through some of the configurations yet again for you guys, since you didn't want to watch the other video I made for you, and hopefully this will help you out. Okay guys, real quick, I know this is not the best at filming a screen. I'm not that tech savvy. So this is saberfont.com, right? And you type in saberfont.com. I can't really explain that any better to you. And you're gonna have Saber font catalog, blaster fonts. This is for like a blaster type blaster core, which is pretty cool. I've never played with one, but I really would love to build a blaster one day. Smooth swing fonts, which is pretty much all I get now. So with back in the day, the sound fonts that you would get were considered legacy fonts, and they are non-smooth swing. Smooth swing didn't come around until a couple years ago, maybe about 2 or 3 years now. It's been a minute. All these soundboards that you get nowadays, which you'd want anyways, they support smooth swing algorithms. So with Profi, CFX, Verso, Golden Harvest, all these boards, they're smooth swing compatible. That's what you want, NeoPixel smooth swing or Tricrete smooth swing. But when you see legacy fonts, you won't have smooth swing in them. So if you want smooth swing font, you gotta get a smooth swing font. So right here, I went and clicked smooth swing fonts. Now you can go order by high, low, name, all that stuff. I usually go with the font artist, Genesis Custom Sabers. Rob makes some of the coolest fonts. Love all of his fonts. I have quite a few of them. But you go through them and you find ones that you want. This is just Rob's section. You go to the next page. We're going to get to different font makers. Different sound fonts, but if you look at them, usually this right here, this little corner, see how it's purple, and then this is like kind of gold with a toast logo, This is open source Profi style sound fonts. This is optimized for CFX. So Corellian, which is one of my favorites, is a cornhorn style sound font. So you'll get a description of what the font is, which is pretty cool. Tells you what's in it. Purchase includes 4 blasters, 1 boot, 16 clashes, 2 force effects, 1 hum, 1 lockup, 2 power offs, 4 power ons, 1 forward power on, 16 swings, 4 combos, 1 font, 4 spins, 4 stabs, 4 end locks, high swing, low swing. This is your smooth swing pairs, your drag, and your color. So you would purchase this font, you would check out with it, log in, check out, and then you would purchase it. So you have a ton of different sound font makers when you scroll through here, which I would suggest check them all out, man. I mean, you got, if we go to artist, font by artist, here's a list of all your artists. They all do good stuff. Juan Sith does great stuff. Laura Blocko, my dude, Link, Darth Methusa, let's see. I mean, all these guys, look at this. It's hard to keep up. There's been a lot of sound font makers over the past couple years. Jedi FX does some really cool ones. I mean, just scroll through. Just pick what you want. Now, see, this is going to be, I just know this from, looking at fonts for years. This is a legacy style font. I can tell right off the bat. So there's not going to be any smooth swing. So this is one place where you can get a lot of sound fonts. Now, a lot of times I will go to Facebook, right? And then some of my favorites, and a lot of people know, Kyberphonic Fonts. Hit that. Close that out. And you're on his Facebook page, right? And he has a lot of demos, lots of cool stuff. Jesse's a cool dude. Good friend of mine. But you'll see over here, Kyberphonic Fonts, email him, whatever, Instagram him, but right here, kyberphonicfonts.com. That linked me straight to purchase all of his fonts. You can click them, you can check them out. Shock Baton, I just did a review of. Loved it. It's a lot of fun to play with. It'll tell you, comes in CFX, Profi, Verso formats. After purchasing, you will get an email downloadable RTF text document. Open that up, you're going to save it. And you're going to put it on your sound font. So there's Kyberphonic Fonts, which I really enjoy. You got Seth Saber fonts. Same thing. KSethSaberfonts.com takes you straight to his website. Here are all of his fonts. Add to cart, which I need this, man. I want Rescue. You guys will probably be seeing a review of that real soon. It's super awesome. Luke Skywalker sound font style that I really, really want to put on my creepy uncle Saber. So all these, super cool. And then again, let's go to Repulse Collectibles. Repulse.com. And then Link's got all of his. Force Effects has got all his. You got Dante Sabers, Cosmic Ape, Kyberl. I mean, you just click these and check them out. I mean, boom. Look at all these fonts. The Butcher, Nazgul, Darkstar, Crucible, the Doom sound fonts. Dope. Love it. Apex, the Predator sound fonts. One of my favorite out-of-universe sound fonts ever. It's so good. But he's got a bunch of them. Hunter's Bounty, Corvus Bounty, Judgment Day. I mean, Link really does a lot of out-of-universe stuff that's just totally fun to play with. So you got that, and then you got like Force Effects. Daddy Issues is great. Over My Helmet Spaceballs. I mean, these are your sound fonts. This is what you purchase. Super cool. All right, now I'm going to show you guys how to put it on a lightsaber. Okay, dudes, let's go over a little bit of what is in a font. So, I have a ton of fonts. This is my test Saber for the most part. I got a good bit. The sound card on the CFX well, the CFX in general, can hold as many sound fonts as there's space on your card. So this is, I believe, in 4 gig, and I'm maxing out usually around 70. So, but again, that just depends on, you know, what you got. It's endless. As many as you can put on the SD card will hold, then you're good to go. So these are all the sound fonts that I have added over the last year, and they have a ton of different stuff in them. So when you click on your sound font, you're going to go in and you're going to see all that it offers. Now, I've already played with these, obviously, customized them however I want to. This one, I think it's just straight up. I put it in. Tracks folder is labeled correctly. There's your track 1.wave, track 2.wave, track 3.wave in a tracks folder. And then you got your blasters. Now, the board will only read 4, but there's an additional 5 and 6. Pretty cool. You can interchange them in any of these 4, but the CFX will read the first 4. So you got your boot sounds, depending on the orientation that you're holding the lightsaber. When you boot up the soundboard, we'll play a boot sound. I did that. I put that on there. Originally it'll be that. This is an Obi-Wan Kenobi episode 4-1, Obi-4. And you'll have 16 clashes. Again, you guys, I can't say this enough. Everybody's, you know, scared to click away. Click away, man. What do they do? What do they all sound like? Those are all your clashes. Now your drag wave is going to be your tip drag. And lock is the, these are really cool. This is a newer thing with the CFX past, you know, year, I guess. The end locks are a wave file that plays after the lockup ends. So it has like a bounce off sound. So whenever you end lock, or whenever you lock up your blade, however you have it set up, and you let go, one of these will play after that to just enhance the effect, which is really cool. Then your font wave is going to be your,
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
that's your menu wave. When you're in the menu font selection and you're scrolling through, that'll pop up and tell you, oh, that's the Obi-Wan Kenobi one. You hold down the power auxiliary, however you select the font, it'll play font.wave. Then it will go to one of the boot ups. So that's how that works. Then you got your force wave. These are all things that I really enjoy to do, especially with the latest firmware versions of CFX. You can have, you know, a ton of them, and the board will just keep reading down them. They will be quotes. They could be songs, background stuff, force waves. Whatever you want to do as a force wave is an additional sound wave file, basically a bank for it. But yeah, you also got your font config text. Remember, very important to have it. Very, very important to have it. You're gonna have your smooth mode equals 2 to get accent swings. My Q on, which is my scroll speed, at 150, which is what I like to put it at. And then I like to change all the Accu bolts to 0, just so they're all my bolt timings are immediate, and then, you know, they don't have to play by the sound. So then you got force wave, which is what I was talking about. Let's flick them.
Hello there. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
And these quotes are all activated by pressing the auxiliary and swinging the saber. So you got to swing it and press at the same time. You know, get an accent swing and a press at the same time, and you'll activate one of these quotes.
I'm getting too old for this sort of thing.
Which I just think is fun.
I felt a great disturbance in the Force.
For any cannon style sabers.
Move along.
That's how I like to trick them out. All of these are cool. Then you got all the way up to Force 8. Then H swing and L swing are going to be your smooth swing pairs. Sometimes you'll have 4 of each. Sometimes you may have 8 of each. Depends on what the font maker makes. Then you're, oh, and they sound crazy. These are the only things I was saying that sound crazy when you click them. that's the smooth swing algorithm. It reads that whenever you're swinging your board around, or swinging your saber around. And then the hum, it's the hum wave. Usually what I do whenever I get these sound fonts, if it's just for, I purchase it and slap it on there real quick and I'll figure it out as I go. I like to hit the hum, the power on, and the swings, just to kind of give it what's going on. So LED text, remember LED.text is very important. If you wanted to accent LEDs to blink in sequence, a certain sequence, you would go in and play with that. But you still need this file, or the sound font will beep a horrendous, awful beep when you select the font. Here's your lockup wave, like I was talking about. And then here's your high swings. Your other smooth swing pairs. And then you got plus and minus waves, just like a little beep for selecting things. Power ons and power offs. Power on obviously is your ignition. Power off is your retraction. Now with CFX you can have up to 4 different power ons depending on orientation. It'll be labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4. This one's just got 1. Prions, what I was talking about, is your Prion wave. So that will that's what the audio track is that plays before your ignition. And then your second one. Then you got your power or post off. It's a little noise. I think it's played after retraction. So one thing you want to make sure you always have too is a PWROFF.2 wave. If your font doesn't have that and you swing your saber around and you power it down, and it may immediately shut off. You may not get a power down. That's because the board's not reading it. So a lot of sound font makers know that and they include that. But if you're getting crazy with your sound font trying to make your own, you need to have a power off 2, PWROFF2.wave. What that is a copy of your power off. Just straight up copy this, right? You would copy your power off wave, and then paste it in here and rename it PWROFF2.wave. Start lock is right before your lockup, which is like a begin lock type thing, which is really cool. And then you got your swings. These are your accent swings I was talking about. So if you set smooth mode equals 2, your board will read these sounds. If you don't, it will omit them. It won't even look at them. But there we go. I mean, that's basically what you have in a font. There's not a lot to it. You just look at it. Some of them have a lot more than others. Some of them have a bunch of quotes. Some of them will have a extras folder. You got extra lockup, which just has a different quote on it. You swap that out, or you can add it. Let's see. I mean, there's a ton of there's a lot of stuff that you you just scroll through and see what's in them. These are all pretty much how I like them. I mess with these, but they're all really cool. And the more you know about what's in a font, the easier it's going to be for you to add a font. So give your fonts a look through. It'll really help you out. Okay, so this is a more modern config text for CFX. I believe this is one of the latest from config firmware updates, if not the one before the newest. So this is your font config .text. Font_config.text. This is very important, and this is in every single font that I have. Every folder that I've made has a font_config.text. Font_config.text. It's very important. You do not have that and the LED.text, Your Saber will have a nasty beep whenever you select any sound font. It'll sound horrible, trust me. I never mess with any of these. These are all fine, leave them as is. They're set to how they should be. Same with these, I wouldn't mess with them that much. The only one I would mess with is smooth mode. So smooth mode is how you switch over to get your accent swings. It will come stock with 0, I believe, maybe 1, but you want it set to 2. What that does is that makes your board read not only the smooth swing pairs that you get, high swing and low swing, but it will also read all those accent swings, which are just a swing sound. So your smooth swing, there's your smooth swing. Right? When you swing it harder, you hear all those? Those are your accent swings. That's what you want, trust me. You want accent swings. So from there, you've got Q on, which is QON. I set this at 150. 100 is going to be a very fast ignition. It is set to milliseconds, I believe. So whenever you get a sound font and you add your font config.txt and you ignite the Saber and it's a really slow scroll, it's set to 0 stock and it's matching the audio file. So if the sound of the audio file, it matches the length of the audio file. If you want it to snap hiss faster and just cut on and do that, I'd start with 100. Is very quick, and this is also depending on your blade length LEDs. And again, this is for NeoPixel. Q on is your scroll speed. So 100 to 200, depending on what you like. Usually are those the areas that I like. 150 is kind of a medium for me. 200 is kind of a slower, but 0 is very slow. Q off. Don't ever mess with Q off. Leave it. And then these are your blaster, AccuBolts, and whatnot. This is whenever you have NeoPixel and it's you activate a blaster, it'll have a blast noise, and then there'll be a bolt mark depending on your setting on what you have for blade style. It could be one bolt and then the lights go down the blade, which is what I like, or it could be a whole blade lights up, which is legacy. Usually what I do, you'll see some numbers. It'll be maybe like 1, 2, 3, comma, 4, 5, comma, whatever. I like to set mine to 0, just so it activates immediately. So that's my way of just setting that. I like it. So you've got font config text, which is great. You need it. LED text. This is the other one I was saying. This just needs to be in there. This is for your blinking LED configuration. If you were to have accent LEDs, which you can do for crystal chambers and other stuff, I usually just leave it to random. Make sure you read everything. Notes, only accents 2, 5, 6, 7, and 8 can be, PWM, pulsing, mirroring, and audio flicker. So those pads on the board you solder to, and then you'll have accents. And then read the manual if you want to learn how to make your lights blink a specific order. But this is an important document to have in each and every single one of these. Even if you don't use it, it needs to be in there or your Saber will beep because it's trying to find all the files and you don't have them all. Some of these sound fonts, you got tracks, like I was saying. If you don't have tracks and you want to add tracks, then you just make a tracks folder. So you would take, see, I don't have a tracks folder in here. Tracks folder will be at the top. If I were wanting to make a tracks folder, I would go to new folder, and then I would put in lowercase tracks. Right? Now I have a tracks folder. And if I were to back out and then go back in to the very top, nothing is in there though. So let's take this throne room. Love it. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to copy, I'm going to put it in the tracks folder. Come on now, don't be so slow. This computer's old, and I've downloaded many fonts and documents. This is my prop computer, my prop files computer. This thing's been working hard, a workhorse for years. So now we have tracks. I just made that tracks folder, right? This is for the folder we were going through. Now I'm gonna click in there and see, there it is. I put it in there. It will not read it unless you relabel it. So notice whenever you click it to highlight it all, it always leaves the dot wave. Always leave the dot wave. Now we're just going to type in TRACK1. Done. Back out. Let's go back in, make sure it took. Track wave 1. So that is now in this font folder, 70. My 70th sound font. When you go to select this sound font and then press and hold the power button, the Saber will go, what? Oh, you want tracks? And then it'll go into this folder, and then it'll go, all right, let's play a song. And oh, here we go, just one song, and it'll play that one. Now, if you have a folder that has more than one song, look at that. If you press and hold, it will advance to the next track. So if we were playing this one, and we kept holding the power button, it would go beep, and it would scroll to the next one. And then if you press and held, it would go beep, and scroll to the next one. And so on and so on. That's how you do tracks. Very, very straightforward. So you're done. And you can customize these. Say you don't like that boot sound, go copy another boot up and put it in there. CFX can have up to 4 boots, and it will randomize those boots depending on how you orient the Saber when you select the folder, when you select the font. So you have all that. See, I mean, I've just added all these, right? Like, this is just what I've done on this Saber. This is my test Saber, my Scrap Tech. I've got a ton of sound fonts. The way to add a sound font would be, let's just go ahead and let's just make a new one if I have room. Okay, so I'm going to add a sound font. Sorry guys, I'm trying to give you as much information as I can. So in the root directory, this is considered the root directory. You're going to have all of your fonts, which again, I'm sorry, this is a lot. You know what? We'll probably go to a different one. And all this information here is what you need to know. All right, I'll show you guys real quick here on adding a sound font. Now, when you look at this, this is a stock, you shut your mouth. This is a stock CFX sound font. All these folders, this is what it looks like when you get it. Click them, open them up, look at them, select all this stuff. Now what I do is with the stock CFX, it is updated to whichever firmware the soundboard is on, right? So I keep the font config. See, look, oh, this is a perfect example. I should have just done this from the beginning. Gosh darn it. Here we go. So I would do 2 for smooth mode, right? And I know I want, let's just say 150. And then look at all these AccuBolts, right? I want 0, 0, 0, 0. This is how I want my config to look. Close this guy out, save changes, make sure they were saved. Smooth mode 2, 150, and zeros. So now what I do, this just makes it real simple for me. So I've got that, right, that guy in there. Usually keep these until I'm set. I don't delete them all and then start adding, because we're going to copy something from the stock folders to work off of. So you're going to go in the root directory, you're going to hit new folder, and you're going to make sure that you have it labeled correctly, numbered correctly. So new folder 15 space, right? Now let's add the white by Lord Blocko. These are all of the white's sound fonts. and this is for CFX. I'm going to highlight all of them. Copy. You can drag and drop, but I like to copy and paste. Open that new folder, paste all of what we just did, all of what we highlighted, which was every font, or which was every file, audio file, .wav file from the package that we purchased from Lord Blocko for the sound font called the White. Now all of these are in there. Cool, there's the whole font. It's missing some things. Now sometimes font makers will put a config.txt and an led.txt. That's cool, but it may be the wrong firmware version depending on when they made that font. So that's why I said don't delete anything. Because now what we're going to do is we're going to go to Nightfall, where I took the font config and I made it my settings that I like. I'm gonna put I'm gonna put it on every single sound font I want. You can change them, you know, the blade speed or whatever you want to do. But for the most part, this is your base. So I take that, I copy that, and then I'm gonna go to number 15, which by the way is now the White. We'll relabel that here in a second. I'm gonna paste, and there we go. It's got a font config now. All right, that's good to go. Now you can go to any one of these because they're all the same, because you don't mess with anything, remember? And you get an LED text. Copy. Boom. Boom. Paste. Now that font is fine. But what you really want to do is make sure that in the root directory again, we're going to go ahead and go here, and in all caps, and in all capital letters, I just keep them the exact same, everything looked the same. TH, the underscore, White. The name of the font. Make sure, absolutely make sure that it is numbered correctly. If you missed a number, if this is 12, 13, 15, 17, you know, or something's wrong, the board will just have a red SMD LED light when you put the SD card in. It won't read them all. It'll have an error basically. Like if this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down, 14, and then we put this as 16th font, and the board goes to read and it says, wait, hold up, you have 14 fonts, you're missing 15. Where's that? So make sure it's 13, 14, 15. It's very important. A lot of people miss this step. It's very simple to do. I've done it before. If these are not numbered correctly, your board will not read this correctly. So make sure that's good. Now, I'm going to try to go in real quick into, again, in the root directory. Oh, and by the way, this font is done. We're done. We added the font. The font will play everything accordingly. So now what you want to do is, this is one little thing I'm also going to do for you guys. Well, you got your change log text. That'll tell you what firmware date you update you have. This is 10.004D right here. This tells you what it is. So when you go to the manual and people ask you, well, what firmware do you have? And you go, I don't know. Go to changelog. It'll tell you right there. All this is information telling you what's on the SD card or what's on the firmware version you have. This is the latest one. This is where it's at. Default package, changelog, all this stuff. So that's all that does. Color text. Now I like to go into color text. This is all your colors. You're going to have, you know, red, blue, green, white. Well, we'd have to make it white. You know, all the different colors. And these are your color profiles. You will select color profiles when you're in Spectrum and pick which one you want and click and boom. So what I do is I like to have, there's a few things I change. But first off, color. 1023 is your max setting, max volume for color. And then so this is 1023 and this is an RGB value. So RGB. So this color 0 is red. 1023 full red, no green, no blue. So, and then the flash on clash color is 1023, 1023, 1023. That is all red, all green, all blue. And what that does is that makes white. So that's your white flash on clash color. And then you got, you know, bold color, lockup color, and so on and so on. I like to change this M color. This is mix color. I like to make them all 111. That way, whenever you go to lock up the blade, it cycles between all of them, and it just makes it more dramatic instead of it switching just to white and flashing. So it'll flash between red. Red and white will be just going. So this is my favorite setting for it. So that's all I would change. Now, if you want to make your own color, say you wanted to make white blade. I know a lot of people were like, how do I make a white blade? Like Ahsoka Tano's coolest sabers ever, because of the Mandalorian. But you would go to color equals 1023, and then right here you would do 1023, scroll over, 1023. So now our main blade on color profile 0, which is the first profile, 1023, 1023, 1023 in RGB, all the colors to make a white blade. There you go, you just made a white blade. Done. And it'll be, whatever. You can change your flash color and all that, which I would suggest, but it is kind of hard unless you do like a red to really show up. So in order to save all your settings, you would close this out, and it's going to ask you, do you want to save? Yes, I want to save. Boom. Now you have a good white color programmed into your color wheel. All right, next I'm going to talk about the config. This is the main config. Guys, this is where all the stuff goes down. This is the place that scares people. So you have all of your main settings. You need this. Volume, this is the main volume, 100. Depending on the speaker you have, run it accordingly. It could be, some speakers say run it at 80%, 75%. That's up to you. Menu volume I almost always put down because it puts extra stress on the speaker and just screams at you. So I'd usually set it at like 70, just so I can hear the font selections and whatnot. Otherwise, it's going to be just screaming at you. What font do you want? So set that how you want. Beep, I'll change a little bit. You got your mute modes, your sleep. This is how long it takes for the board to go to sleep mode. If you have deep sleep set, I suggest you do. If your board doesn't have it, go to deep, set to 1. That's deep sleep. Sleep mode, I usually put it comes at 5,000 stock. I usually put it at 4, just because, 5 is okay. But if you want your board to go into sleep mode quicker, then you would do that. Then you have quick ignite. I like quick ignite just because it wakes the board up, goes straight into the lightsaber igniting instead of playing a boot sound. I just prefer that nowadays. Don't really mess with anything here. LED strip, you're going to have to set specifically to how many LEDs you got. This number I don't think is correct. You don't know which config file this is. This is a new a new one. But depending on if you have a KR pixel strip, you might have to set it to double that, like 245 or 230. This is for like a 32-inch blade, so you just have to play with that, ask around, see what your LED strip parameters are, how many you have. But if you install a CFX and you go to light it up and the LED strip doesn't work, more than likely you have not set your LED strip parameter. You have to make sure that you have the inputted number of pixels on your strip. Then you also have LS timings. This is also very important. If you LS timings, these numbers right here, if you have the wrong config for the wrong firmware version, your blade might be just white, or it might not light up, or it might act funny. It might be because your LS timings are off. Now, the newest firmware version might be different from that. They may have set that. Now, this guy right here, I don't know what's going on with this thing. So, now what I like to do, this was a little off. I think I was just playing with this SD card, trying to see what the settings were, whatever. But this is smooth gate and gate. So smooth gate is your sensitivity for your smooth swing, which I always leave at 50. It's pretty good. I will take the gate and drop it to 45 sometimes. I think it just feels good for me. And then H temp will come at 40. If you ever hear your board say energy path temperature critical, which will give you a heart attack, it's okay. That's just the board's getting warm, and it's a feature that lets you know that. I will bump this number to 50 because I don't need to know that unless the board is getting extremely hot. That is not a problem. So I don't want that to tell me. It's a cool little feature. I think Irv thought was cool, but yeah, I don't want that energy path temperature critical quote going off whenever the board's being used for more than a minute or two. Again, it will freak you out. Irv has said that if you don't want to hear that warning, just set it to 50 and your board is fine. Again, unless it is getting uncomfortably hot to the touch. If that's the case, you have a problem. If your board is just a little warm whenever you're touching it after using it for a minute, that's normal. It's gonna warm up. It's electronics. We're putting a lot of LED lights to it. So, spectrum mode. I like to put my spectrum mode at 1, and then I put the access at 1. What that does is that enables me to press the auxiliary and twist it like a throttle, and then you'll enter your blade you'll enter spectrum mode. Spectrum mode set 1, access 1 if you want the twist and scroll like a throttle, which is just my favorite. I think it's easiest to do. Now you're gonna have your first and main blade profile. So it says profile equals 0 in brackets. This is your main profile, blade profile. So whenever you make a blade profile or do anything, I'm gonna show you guys real quick how to do it again. I'll show you. It's confusing, I know. You got all these different things that this blade will do is being told what to do by these parameter numbers. So you got wake up, blast P, random, all this stuff. POI, I switch over to 1. And what that does is whenever you ignite the Saber, it doesn't, you can interrupt the ignition with a swing. So like if I were to press the ignition button and swing it when it was set to 0, it would play the whole ignition sound before a swing was activated. So if you were to press the ignition button and swing real quick, you wouldn't get a swing sound until the ignition was done playing. So I always set POI to 1. Just makes the Saber flow very well. Then all these I don't really mess with, but you will if you're making blade profiles. If you're switching all this stuff, there's a lot of things in here you're gonna have to look over. Again, go to the CFX manual. Blast M is set to 0. If you set it to 1, you can press the auxiliary button for blaster sound and then do a bunch of swings and it'll keep blasting without you having to press the button a bunch of times, which is kind of cool. All these I don't mess with. Don't mess with any of that. Oh, this is an older config. Wow, this is a much older config. So actually kind of glad I found that. An older firmware config, your Q on and Q off will be in there, in the profile. That's old school. Now, a lot of the firmware versions, they're in each font config folder that we went over. So you won't see them in here. So then you've got pulse. I usually set my pulse to, man, what is this? This is weird. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I usually go 45 for a slow pulse, and I do 100 pulse L. So pulse D 45 and pulse L 100. I usually always leave pulse L at 100. That's just a good parameter for me personally. I enjoy that. And then 45 is kind of the speed of the pulse. So this is kind of like the brightness, like aura glow of it. And this is the speed of the aura glow, if that makes sense. So 45 is pretty slow. If I want it faster, I'll do like a 65. But usually 45, 55, 60, anywhere in those, I usually mess with. I don't mess with any of this other stuff. Oh, this is an older one. Dang it. Gosh darn it. Okay, so POI to 1. Let's see, where are we? Then I don't really mess with a lot of this stuff. Again, you're going to change it depending on if you're making a blade style. But this is what your stock profile 0 will come looking like for the most part. Again, I change POI, blast M if you want to do that little blaster swinging effect. But then I keep scrolling down, and pulse D I'll change to 45 for a slow pulse. Pulse L 100 is what I set for the pulse energy flow, like the intensity. which I really enjoy. And then if you have the, I can't remember where it started, but at some point one of the firmware versions started to have ignition effects and stuff like that, which I really do enjoy. Usually you'll see in my videos I have like a white spark on ignition that shoots up the blade when it ignites. That's style PON, power on, I guess, style PON. I put it at 5. When you go into the Plector Labs manual and you look at the settings for your power ons, you'll have like 1 through 10 or something like that. You choose which one you like, and then you go back to style PON and you put your parameter in that you want. It's that simple. Same with the power off, style POF 6. That's like a folding style, plasma style power off. I tend to like it. I think it looks cool. And so I set that at 6. Blaster bolts. A lot of people ask me about the blaster bolts. They're very, very similar to Profi style blaster bolts, where the blade gets hit by the blaster bolt and then in 2 directions energy scrolls up and down the blade, kind of dissipates off into the side, which 6 is pretty cool. If you want localized lockup for your lockup style, it's going to be lockup 2. Switch it to lockup 2. Tip drag I don't really mess with. All these parameters I don't really mess with. That's pretty much all I usually go with, were those. That's kind of a standard blade. Not too much to it, but that's what I like. Now what you're going to get into is blade profiles. Profile 1. This is when you enter spectrum mode, hold the button down, and you'll enter blade profiles. She will say blade profiles. This is profile 1. This has been created and implemented in. This is all blade profile 1. This is what a CFX blade profile looks like. To get like a flame blade, a rainbow blade, or whatever blade you want, you have to change all these parameters to tell the blade what to do and then set it correctly. So that's one that I would scroll through. Then I have another one. I don't think I have many on this one. Then I have 2, blade profile 2. Blade profile 3. You can have up to 32 profiles, blade profiles. Blade profile 4 and 5. We left it on 5. This is actually great because I'm going to do an example real quick. So when you get your CFX main config in the root directory, you're going to have all of these looking like that. They're 2 little pound signs, these 2 little hash marks or whatever. There will be 2 of those in front of the profile. Notice how, there's some in this one too that hasn't been set. But notice how there are none in front of profile 3. I've deleted them. None in front of profile 2. What that does, whenever you take them away, see, like, this blade profile has been made, but the board doesn't read it right now. So I want the board to read my 4th profile. I delete both of those hashtag marks, or whatever you want to call them. Now the board reads, oh, you got 4 profiles. Do you have 5? Nope. So it goes, okay, just reads all 4 of those. Now what you want to do for your blade profiles is you can get, like Rob from Ciroc Sabers, friend of mine. Say hi to your mom for me, Rob. So you got blade profiles. He made a bunch. He made a ton. And I don't really know what all these are specifically. Usually there will be a tell you what it is. Sometimes people will give you a cheat sheet layout of like, this one's a flame blade, this one is a rainbow blade, this one's a rain blade, all that different stuff. But like, let's just say we're gonna take, I know for a fact, because my boy Arston helped me out. He made a couple blade profiles. So I want to go ahead and I need an unstable. This is just one that I already have. This is an unstable blade already made. Profile X. Cool. I'm going to take this and I'm going to highlight it. Well, actually, I don't need profile X. I just need underneath it all the goods. So I'm going to take all these. I'm going to scroll all the way down and I'm going to copy them. I'm going to go back to my config sure this is the hold on. Yeah, let's get rid of this one. Sorry, guys. Now I'm going to go back to my config file that has all these. See, it's got 5. And I'm going to add, this is adding a blade profile. We're going to add that flame blade. So now I'm going to paste right under profile 5. Boom. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to back out and delete those 2. Now whenever you access your blade profile in real time, you will have your 5th color profile, or you will have your 5th blade profile as the flame blade. There it is. There's all the settings. Unstable. It's one way I usually look at which ones they are. Where's the unstable? Unstable. There's a couple different settings for it. Unstable 1. Boom. So that's the unstable 1 setting. But this is one that I like. There we go. That's a flame blade. Now I'm going to show you how to add another one, just because I know it's not enough for some people. So you're going to space, get a good bit. And what I usually do is I just go ahead and copy this. Copy. Paste. Rename the 5 to 6. Let's work on a 6th blade profile. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take, let's do rainbow blade. Boom. I'm going to highlight, scroll down, copy, back out, right under 6, paste. Boom. Now your 6th blade profile is a rainbow blade. Boom. That's all there is to it, you guys. So all you really need to do is get these profiles made, or you're going to have to learn how to make them yourself. You can take the original one that you have to begin with, profile 0. You can take all this, scroll it down, you can take all that, copy, go all the way down to the bottom, and make a new one. So then you go there, we just made a new 7. You can take your original one that we just copied. This is just the exact same as 0. And you can go in and adjust it yourself. So like, say I just want a faster pulse. Now we've made a blade profile that has a faster pulse than what we originally had. That's all it is to it. Learn all these things. Whenever you're creating a new blade profile, make sure there's a space in between the last one. So see how you're right there? You want it to look like that. You want it to have a space in between each profile when you're adding profiles, blade profiles. So that's it, you guys. Again, I'll leave links to the CFX manual. There's all these are explained in the manual. It's a lot to take on, I understand, but it will help you out in the long run to know what they are. So hopefully that is enough for you guys. Again, this is the second time I've made this video, but I hope that helps you out. Make sure that you save all your settings. I'm not going to save on this one because this card doesn't need all that on there. Make sure that you save whenever you make changes on your SD card. And you're done. So there you go, you guys. Just remember each time before you make changes on your SD card, and you can do this on Rice as well, but make sure that you put a kill key in, or have a kill switch or a movable battery. You want to cut power to the board before inserting and taking out your SD card. You want power to the board killed before you do that. Alright guys, also if you want, there is a great YouTube channel for CFX blade styles. Tristan's doing really great work over there. Crystal Focus YouTube channel. I'll leave link in the description. You can go over there. He has tons and tons of blade profiles, displayed them, showed them. The whole channel is dedicated to what CFX blade styles can do. It's really good stuff. Guys doing great work. So can't say that enough. You guys go over there and subscribe, follow his channel. You know, go show him some support because he's doing a lot of the work that I don't want to do. This is a lot more than I had planned, but hopefully that helps you out. And until next time, may the force be with you.
Who's scruffy looking?